talking to you about my my portfolio track, Headrush. So I'm going to be talking to you about the static mix, the signal to noise ratio, decibels relative to full scale, so DBFS, dynamic range, headroom, EQ, compression, the effects used, how I use Melodyne, the automation. And then afterwards I'll be talking like what went well and what didn't and what can be improved. Right, so I'm just going to play you just literally just a bit of the track.
She said, baby, what you doing around here? I thought I told you to stay clear.
Alright, cool. So we've had a little listen to it. I've whacked up the mixer, so I'm going to be talking to you about what I did in my static mix. So if we just literally go onto the drums, so we can see with the kick in and the kick out. All what I wanted in my track was I wanted it to be the kick out to be a bit more louder. So it's obviously just plus 0.4 dB, and the kick in is just a bit lower by 0.2. A lot of people said, "Oh no, more slap and stuff." I liked in the song a bit more woofy. Do you know what I mean? A bit more backbone to it, a bit more back end, which is good. With the snares, I've literally kept them the same. For the simple fact is really, like they were recorded. I've EQ'd them quite a bit, so really one of them sort of didn't really need to change them really in the mix. You know what I mean? Like, they're loud. The only thing is though, when recording the bottom snare, like the bottom snare mic, the snare was quite sort of like ringy, quite rattly, and I've obviously removed some of that through the EQ, but I'll be talking about that later. So about the rack tom, literally made it higher by a bit. Do you know what I mean? It's not really played that much in the song, so didn't really massively. Do you know what I mean? Needed to turn it down and stuff. With the overheads, I've literally, obviously, I've panned them obviously left and right, and I've grouped them together. I've taken them down a bit because they were quite loud. They're very sensitive. They catch literally just everything that the drum is being played. You mean everything in the room. Mainly, we didn't mic up the hi-hat. I didn't mic up I didn't want to mic up the hi-hat for the simple reason I just didn't think it needed to be. But then listening to it, we couldn't really hear it that much. So all I've done is basically just EQ'd the hi-hat sort of, so you can hear it, and so it's it's present in the mix. What I've done with my drum as well is I've bussed my drum. So I've bussed it so literally it can be heard. Yeah, so I've bussed the drums so literally I've sent in just the one channel so I can EQ all of the drums, which I'll talk about later. And I just thought it was easier as just an output, yeah. So with the guitars, there's one guitar that's really low down. We triple tracked all like the guitars, the main guitars in the song, because it was sounded so nice, worked really well. This guitar is really low down by minus 16.2. Only because it's just giving some sort of backbone, do you know what I mean? Giving some sort of oomph in the actual track. The other guitars, obviously this one's panned to the left. When we recorded them, they were quite loud, do you know what I mean? So we recorded it through an amp. We mic'd up the amp, it was an orange amp, and literally left it to that. I'll be talking about the EQ later, but I've literally done bare minimum on the EQ. It's just it's such a nice sound. With the other guitar, it's obviously panned to the right. That was a bit louder, only slightly, listening to it when like mixing. So I've just taken that down, and you get a good sort of, do you know what I mean, variation of different guitars playing. You know what I mean, with the different sounds. So from the left side to the right, do you know what I mean? Yeah. With the bass, I recorded the bass through the Mesa, and we got a really nice sort of warm sort of sound, and everyone said the bass sounds really nice. Really love the bass. The bass was very sort of loud though, like that's why I've reduced it down to -6.4. Do you know what I mean? That was the volume of it, and really, if we go back, play it into the track, it's very, you know what I mean, that's very loud and dominant. You can really hear that. So yeah, that's why we basically why I reduced it down, really, because it was incredible. It was very loud. With the vocals, we recorded the vocals at really sort of like good level. So all I wanted to do was just bring them down just a bit, because I wanted them to cut through and be heard. You know what I mean? Be heard loud, but obviously louder than the guitars. And obviously not too quiet. You know what I mean? I wanted the guitars loud and the vocals loud as well. They're both, we double track the vocals. And you fuck me all the time. And obviously they've both been panned and stuff, and obviously there's effects on them and as well. I'll be talking about that later. So yeah. Yes, Headrush. Yeah, so with the screaming sort of, with the sort of screaming part, how'd you get around town with a dirty face? As you can hear. So let me just stick that on loop. So we can. It's gonna be a bit horrible, but oh well. Right, there we go. How'd you get around town with a dirty face? Obviously, with these, you know what I mean. I just literally have lowered the volume by 1.6. I was gonna. How'd you get around town with a dirty face? No. I was gonna Melodyne them, but the reason why I didn't was simple the fact Melodyne was just absolutely corrupting it, and it just wasn't working great. And you know what? It sounds good anyway without the Melodyne. I want it to sound raw and sort of original, so yeah, I've left it like that. So yeah, that's pretty much the static mixing what I've done. I've literally just turning stuff down, turning stuff up, panning stuff to left and right. That's it, simple as. Right, let's go on to so the sound to noise ratio. Right, see, when recording the drums, especially the rack tom and the floor tom, I don't know where we probably can get it back. There was a lot of like noise, man. Like it just, you know what I mean? I just didn't. There we go. So if I don't know whether it'll work. Oh yeah. No, it won't. No, you can't hear it. I've cut it up so much you can't really hear any of this stuff. Yeah, but no. But there was a lot of noise. So I stuck a noise gate on both the rack and floor tom, which I can take off, and you can probably hear obviously the other drums. And looking at the wave file, do you know what I mean? That's the rack tom there clearly, and that's other stuff. So what I'll do is I'll just loop it over, and you can just have a quick listen at just it being played, just literally, obviously with all the noise gate and stuff on. Yeah, so we can hear it with the noise gate. I'll turn the noise gate off. As you can hear clearly, that's what I mean. See, the trouble with the floor tom and the rack tom is they picked up a lot of noise during the recording, so that was the only problem. So that's why literally when they're not being played, I've literally cut them up, and I've only had literally just what is we wanted to hear, just literally played. And yeah, see, with the noise gate, and I'll play the floor tom as well. see what I mean? You don't want to see. See, we could put the cymbal in because it's in the same sort of time. Do you know what I mean? As the overheads, but it's just not needed. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it in there, so that's why I've stuck noise gates on the rack tom and the floor tom. Right, so I'll be next talking about the DBFS.
Yeah.
So the DBFS, obviously the vocals in this are sort of, obviously, if we just solo the vocals,
It's a Headrush.
they're a lower volume to when he's screaming. Do you know what I mean? So, which is what I wanted. And then when we listen to the screaming, it's obviously a lot louder. I've had to turn it down,
Headrush.
as you can
Oh
hear.
baby, it's the Headrush.
Originally, when we recorded
That's how
it,
it's the Headrush.
we only recorded it once, and because it didn't sound like it was loud enough in a way. I didn't want to turn it up because that would just be like, didn't want to do that. So what I did was I basically just copied over it, just double tracked it over, so it just obviously listened to it then.
Headrush. Oh baby, it's the Headrush.
You know what I mean?
That's how it's the Headrush.
And then if I put on the other track with it,
Headrush.
it's obviously a lot louder,
Oh,
which is what
baby, it's
I want.
Headrush.
You know what I mean? Which is,
That's how it's the Headrush.
he's screaming, so we need it louder. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's the difference between the difference in the DBFS.
Yeah, Headrush. Oh baby, it's the Headrush.
Yeah, and and obviously when he's singing, so the decibels relative to full scale. Alright, so next I'll be talking about the dynamic range. I think what I've done is, from previous times mixing and recording, using compression was like my downfall. So in this track, well, the only thing that's got a compression, like I've used compression on, is ignore what's on the output because it's not a compressor. That's just the limiter. I've literally just using the limiter. That's all that compressor's doing. It's just limiting it. The only bit of compression I've done and I've used is on the bass and on the vocals, and that is it. I've kept everything as clean as possible. For the simple fact is, I just wanted I just didn't want it sound compressed at all. I wanted it to sound as raw and original. I mean, the only things that I wanted to really make it sound better were just EQing it really, and that's it. That's all I've really done. So the dynamic range, I feel, is quite a loud sort of track. Do you know what I mean? There's parts of it that are sort of very like quiet, and then when we go down into like the breakdown of the song, like listening here, it gets quiet, and then obviously it goes obviously very loud. You see what I mean? It gets quiet obviously down there, and then going into the, you know what I mean, the breakdown, it's quiet, and then obviously building up, it's getting louder. Yeah, so that's what I did with the dynamic range. I mean, I'll be talking about the compression and the EQ later on, but I just bare minimum of compression. So the headroom, what I've done is recording all the drums and the guitars. As you can see, I just play it from here. I've kept the headroom at a minimum, at a minimum. So literally, all of the tracks are all sort of, they're not really peaking anyway. Some of the vocals might peak a bit, but I've compensated by that by putting like a limiter on some of them, which is a bit cheeky and a bit naughty. But it, you know what I mean, I want to keep the track loud rather than turning everything down and then people turning it up. Do you know what I mean? It'd be a bit annoying. Then that's really all I've done with the headroom. On the drums, so on the auxiliaries, because I've obviously grouped all of the drums together, and we'll just solo that. It does peak a bit. I haven't stuck a limiter on it at all because obviously I've just stuck a limit on the output just to keep like the main sort of output volume like loud and so people can hear it, which is what I want. It probably will peak a bit. I've turned it down just only a tad though, because the drums in this track are quite dominant. They're quite loud. It's what I wanted. Do you know what I mean? I wanted the drums to be big. Do you know what I mean? Oh. So let's just find somewhere where it peaks a little. That's a bit shit. Alright, so I've gone through the whole track and can't find anywhere where it peaks in the drum auxiliary. So yeah, so headroom, I must be doing great on headroom. Yeah, good. So it definitely does peak somewhere. It peak. Well, I've seen it peak on the track numerous times, and it peaks to something like 0.2 or 0.4 or something, which is not that bad, but you know what I mean. You don't really want that. But yeah, no. With the output though, if I take turn the compressor off, as we can see, obviously, and I take off the drum auxiliary, it'll peak.
It's time to put it down the bond.
There we go, 2.1.
Yeah, this is something we forgot.
So that's the reason why I keep the compressor on, the limiter on, so it just, you know what I mean, I don't want to reduce the volume down. So if I reduce it down to something like 4, you know what I mean, it's going to be really quiet. We take it off. We'll take this off and play it. That means it's really quiet.
How we forgot how to love.
And you've got to turn it up, do you know what I mean?
And you're in my mind. And you fuck me all the time.
It just makes it a lot easier, do you know what I mean? Right, so talking about the EQ, right, this is going to be my favourite bit to talk about, and probably going to be the longest. We're going to go for each channel because that's what I want to do. So we're going to start off with the kick drums. So yeah, so the kick in, basically, the kick in. Yeah, if we look on here, all I've done is obviously I've just taken out some of the high end, which just wasn't needed. 500 hertz is a must. I've taken it out because when raising it up, do you know what I mean? That's just not nice. We don't want that at all. So we take that down by -5. Not anything. I don't like taking anything down really below anything, probably -6 or maybe -8 or something like that. 'Cause it's just too low. You know what I mean? So I've raised up 23,000 hertz. So I've raised that up by only 3 decibels. I've left it on sort of the bandwidth as 1, just to give it a bit more sort of slap. Do you know what I mean? Like, as you can hear, a bit more sort of slap. So yeah, we've left it like that, which is pretty good. The low end I've just left. I didn't want to raise that at all. Going on to the kick out. So the kick out is I haven't raised it in the high end at all. All I've done is I've reduced all this. Obviously I've reduced all the high end on the frequency like that, and I've taken out the 500 hertz. The low end I've just left, which is exactly what I want to do, because it gives. I mean, it's just I want the natural sound.
Yeah, this is something we forgot.
With the with the snares, literally I've reduced it. From this. Obviously, I've cut the low end down. I've cut the high end down. I've taken out the 500 hertz. I've raised it just above here, just to give a little bit of sort of. Oh, that's the wrong one. Yeah, just to give it a little bit sort of like a little bit of volume in a way, like a little bit of sort of low end. You know what I mean? And then I've raised the top on to give it a little bit of slap. A little bit sort of like pop, do you know what I mean? Like, as you can hear. The other EQ, I think I've taken out 250 hertz because you could hear that really sort of woo 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 sound, which just wasn't what I wanted. If I play it again, do you know what I mean? You can hear that. that really bugged me big style. So I reduced that by -6. I reduced it as well on the bottom snare as well. So I reduced it on the bottom snare as well. I did pretty much the same. Reduced the low end, the high end. Reduced the 500 hertz. I left the bottom snare. Couldn't hear it that much, so I just left that out. You can hear it more in the overheads, way more. It's just something I didn't like. There were certain sounds here that I took out. Wasn't too keen on that, so I just reduced that by about 4 dB. Literally, not really anything sort of increased. Just mainly sort of reducing sounds that I just didn't really like overall, really. So yeah, the rack tom. Well, the rack tom not really being played that much. So simple. Literally just the same, really, cutting the low end, cutting some of the dirt, really. That's what it's called. Some of the dirt, really, at the sides, and obviously reducing the 500 hertz by -5. Same with the floor tom as well. Obviously with the noise gate on, just pretty much the same, really. It's not really getting played that much, so it's not massively being heard. All right, so the overheads, He's got a lot of EQs, maybe a bit too much, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's a right and wrong between sort of EQ and a drum kit. Like, you know what I mean? I think there's certain things you need to do, like reducing sounds that obviously you don't like. But really, if it sounds good at the end of it, and you've used like 8 EQs, then what's you know what I mean? I don't see the harm in it, really. So with the left EQ, I'll take it off the panel. So there we go. I've literally just got some of the dirt out. Got some of the dirt out here. I've raised this up to 112,000 up to +6 dB, only because this is where I feel the hi-hat is being picked up, as we can hear by raising it up. And obviously that was the thing that we couldn't really hear, because obviously we didn't record it, didn't mic that up. So that's being raised. Obviously 500 hertz being down. Now the 250 hertz, which is what we heard from the snare, which you can hear here, like here now, I did not like that at all. So that was when EQ in the snare, I could really hear it again, and I was thinking, what's that? Do you know what I mean? I can hear it, and it was coming from the overheads, which just I just didn't want at all. So we got rid of that. Literally, there's another EQ on this as well. So I panned it. I won't talk about the right EQs. It's just exactly the same. And again, I've just taken out. So I've just taken out 81,000 only by +2, because I don't know, I just didn't like that sound. Probably could have left it in, you probably wouldn't have heard it anyway, but hey ho, I just thought it sounds better. With the other EQs, so that was the EQs, that was the oh, pardon me, that was the parametric EQs that I use on Logic. So the other EQs that I used was the Tube Tech, and I mean this is big. I mean, like when I first saw this, I was just like, I didn't have a clue what it was. I just didn't know it big. I didn't know what it sounded like. I mean, this is giving the hi-hats, and it's giving, you can hear the hi-hats like more. Do you know what I mean? So if I just play around with it, you'll just have a little listen. So obviously boosting the high end. I didn't want it too high. I wanted it something like that. Do you know what I mean? There we go. Boosting the low end, you can really hear the kick drum more as well. I didn't really want that. I wanted more high, but I didn't want it too high. It's too like tinny, so it's like, you know what I mean? I wanted it just so it would be heard. So I've pretty much left it like that, and obviously on the right EQ, it's just exactly the same. It's just exactly the same. Do you know what I mean?
Sure in my mind. Hush. And you're in my mind.
Right, and then what I've done is obviously I've put an auxiliary on the drums and just sent it to an auxiliary channel. And what I've done was, really, before I EQ'd all of the overheads again, like sort of had a little listen to it again with that snare noise that I really didn't like at 250 hertz. I had this on, so really it's I don't know, it's not really a trick really, but I've learnt it from from people, and basically just group up the drums and stick this EQ on it, and it does sound big. At the moment it's not really doing much because I've EQ'd it quite a lot, but it still gives a big sound. Do you know what I mean? It's really low now. The trouble is that it's peaking, so you got to watch that, but leaving it there, do you know what I mean? It gives a big sound. Do you know what I mean? Sounds a bit more wider. Yeah. But that's just what I mean. Leave it on there. Just makes the drums sound big, man. Do you know what I mean? It's a really nice EQ. And in most of my work that I'm doing now, after I've done this track and a couple other tracks, I use that EQ all the time now. It's so. There we go. So I was talking earlier about it peaking. There we go. So it peaked actually up to 1.2, which is a bit naughty, but it's all right because the limiter's sorting it out on the main output. So yeah. So with the EQs on the guitars, all I did, get rid of the dirt from the sides, so the low and the high. Get rid of the 500 hertz because obviously we record it live, which you can hear. Take that down to 4.5, and literally just other sounds I just didn't like. So for instance, didn't like that. Take that down. I mean, to like, I think it was -1. That is simply all I did on the guitars. Where's this getting played at? Oh, this is next. Here we go. So yeah. I also used the noise gate on this guitar as well, which I didn't mention earlier. The simple fact, there's a lot of feedback on that guitar, like from the amp and from the distortion, so I stuck a noise gate on it to get rid of it. You could probably hear it as it comes in. What I'll do is I'll just take it off really. And you can have a little listen to it, yeah. Alright, so it's this one, isn't it? This one, yeah. There we go. I don't want that sound at all. So I'll just turn this down. With the EQ on this, what I've done is exactly the same as the other guitar. Got out the dirt from the sides, reduced the 500 hertz, the sounds that I didn't like as well, because it was recording in the same room, using the same amp, using the same microphone. So the other EQ, same sort of thing, reducing certain things. Maybe not needed that much, but I felt there were still sounds that I didn't like, so I stuck another EQ on it. Again, using this EQ, which I love, gives it such a big sound, such a warm sound as well, which I like. You can really hear the difference. So yeah. So yeah, back to the other guitars as well. So for instance, this guitar. So this just literally, yeah. So this really, I use the Logic EQ as my sort of what's it? Not my creative EQ, but my corrective EQ. That's it. I use a Logic parametric EQ because it's a bit more advanced, a bit more detail as my corrective EQ, and then I use the Tube Tech EQ. Is it open? There we go. I've done it like 4 times. There we go. It's open now. And I use the Tube Tech really as my creative EQ, as you can see, giving it a bit more sort of like warm sound. Just giving it a nicer sound. Yeah. So yeah, and the other guitars I can show you pretty much the same. Pretty much the same. This one as well, stuck a noise gate on, pretty much exactly the same. So corrective, and then creative, and then the other guitars. I mean, this guitar which comes out in here. Exactly the same. It's corrective. Right, so onto the bass. I've left the low end. I should really probably take that off. That's not needed, that, to be honest with you. I left it on though, just to keep some of the dirt away. Same with the high end, just to get some of the dirt away. 500 hertz down. Only because we recorded it through the messer, but just I could still hear that sound, so I reduced it just a bit. Just left it as really. That's it. And obviously I've stuck a compressor on, but I'll talk about that later. So yeah. And obviously the bass in this, I've EQ'd this. I think I stuck an EQ. So this is a creative EQ, just to make it just a little bit more sort of punchier, because obviously it goes into the next bit like the and it does sound a lot more sort of like different. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Right, so the vocals.
Yeah, this is something we forgot.
Literally, I wanted to keep them as clean as possible, so I've just cut out the dirt from the bottom ends,
and you're
the high
in
ends,
my
and
mind.
then just reduce the 500 hertz, and that's
And
pretty
you
much it.
fuck
There wasn't
me
really
all the
any sort of
time.
sounds that I didn't really like. Yeah, I just did exactly the same with the other double track vocals. And obviously, if we go on to the screaming, yeah, it's exactly the same. I've just literally just stuck an EQ and just reduced the 500 hertz, and that's about it. That is honestly about it. That's it. Right, so let's move on to the compression. So the compression I've only used on the vocals and the bass. So if we play just the bass, again, I've used the Tube Tech compressor, a brilliant compressor. I wanted to use the actual sort of, I wanted to use the Joe Meat compressor, but I didn't have enough time, and I felt the Tube Tech, it does the job, do you know what I mean? So this is what I've done. So I've only put a bit of compression on, so really it doesn't go anywhere higher than 2, really, do you know what I mean? Which is good, because I don't want loads. I wanted to kept it raw, do you know what I mean? The gain, obviously I put the gain up just a bit, maybe leave the gain like that, and that's it really. The ratio, I've kept quite low. The attack's fast. I've always kept the attack fast quite really, and the release quite fast, because if we play it from here, it's too muddy. It gets too muddy, so I'll leave it like that. It's alright.
All the time. Yeah, we forgot how to love.
So with the vocals, I haven't actually used the Tube Tech
And
compressor at
you're
all.
in my mind.
All I've done.
And you fuck me all the time.
Let's just turn this down a bit. So all I've done is literally I've used the actual Logic compressor, and when using it, it sounds really good. Like, I mean,
yeah, we forgot how to
sounds really good. So
love.
again, the attack's quite sort of
And
fast.
you're in my mind.
The release is quite fast. The ratios is not so
and
much.
you fuck me all the time.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes, ahead.
It is. I'll be honest with you, the vocals are compressed a bit. You know what I mean? If I'm honest with you, like looking at where it's going to.
It's time to put it down the
But
pot.
I've put a plus on 4, so it's not that bad.
Something we
So
forgot.
yeah, so I mean, it's putting the
Yeah,
makeup
we
gain on it, and
forgot
it's making
how
it
to love.
hearable. Do you know what I mean? Not too over compressed that it's quiet. Do you know
And
what
you're in my mind.
I mean? So yeah, that is the compression, just all in one nutshell. So what the compression I've used on the track, which literally, like I said, I've only used compression on 3 tracks, which I think is quite good compared to the previous tracks that I've recorded on, especially the Daft Punk which was just so overly compressed. So talking about the effects I've used, so the effects I've used on the vocals, we're just gonna solo them again. I'm just literally gonna loop them around.
It's time to put it down the pot.
As you can hear, there's reverb and delay.
Yeah, this is something we forgot.
So what I've done is
We forgot how to love.
on the
And you're in my mind.
so on the left double track, what I've done is
fuck me all the
I don't like putting effects on certain channels. I don't know. I like bussing them. So I've put a bus. So we've got the delay bus down here, and we've got delay designer, which I like. I think it's really good. We can change it around. I can move it so it goes down to there, and we can hit,
this is something we forgot.
which is a bit late. I don't want that. I liked it there, which sounded quite good.
Forgot how to love.
Which sounds really good. So the left side, the left side of the vocals I've got delay on, which I really like.
And you fuck me all the time.
And then we go onto the right side, and we've got reverb on, which is again being bussed. So I've bussed it through this. I've only put like.
It's time to put it down the pot.
I mean, only by 8.4, because what I like doing is.
'Cause there's something we forgot.
What I like to do is I feel, rather than put the effect on and then like putting as much as you can through the effect, I like putting on a bus, and then when it's done, you can add as much as you can. And also, I've literally just left like the effects. The only effect that's really been changed just specifically for a certain channel is the delay, but like I say, with the reverb, it's just literally been left out. I've changed it just only a tad, just on the waveform, and just made with the filter and stuff like that. But that's it. So I can just literally stick. If I want to stick a bit of reverb on something, I can. Do you know what I mean? It's just easy by just literally sending it to that channel, which I find a lot easier. So yeah, they're the only effects that I've used on any of the channels. The guitar channels, ignore that because that's just the ghost track. The guitar channels, that's it. I've not put no reverb, no delay on. It's just exactly what you're hearing from the amp that's been recorded, which is what I wanted. Wanted to keep it really raw and original. Yeah.
It's time to put it down the pot. Yeah, this is something we forgot.
Right, let's move on to Melodyne. So the Melodyne, I Melodyne the vocals on this big stylio, and yeah, they look pretty nice. So
she said, baby,
there was certain parts in the track. So if we whack up, so for instance, it was a bit delayed, like where he was saying. So for instance, she said, baby on the first track, and then the double track, it was delayed on the double track. I didn't hear it first off, but when people listen to it, it said it's delayed. So I moved that to make sure obviously it sound alright. But with the Melodyne, I've literally
what you doing around here?
I've literally done where it is on the pitch, and then there's certain, if I can maybe find it, there's certain parts that I've moved manually, only because it sounds better, and I've just gone, yeah, no, it sounds a lot better. If I have more time during the end, I probably will come back to this track, because listening to it over and over again, there's so many things that I can pick up on that I don't like, but then I'll talk about that later on. So yeah, so for instance, like this bit here, do you know what I mean? You can see where I've put it in, and then you can see where the note plays, so it goes up to like an F sharp or even a G, and then goes all the way down, do you know what I mean, to a D sharp. So I mean, rather than moving it there,
yes, Headrush.
do you mean playing it there? I mean, if I move it back,
yes, Headrush.
it sounds a lot. Do you know what I mean? It sounds a lot better. Do you know what I mean? It sounds a lot better, a lot cleaner. So yeah. So that's really the Melodyne that I've used, and it's exactly the same on the double track as well. Like, I've matched it up. So yeah, it's a nice clean double track. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Right, so let's talk about the automation. Automation, I've done bare minimum because I'm not really a big fan of automation. All I've done in the automation is just lower down, just simply lower down just the volume of just the when he screams. There we go. So just literally there. That's all I've done. Just lower him down, and as well as with the drum build up as well. So if we just solo, just literally these certain channels, and you can really hear the build up. Maybe not that one. There's not really much being played. Oh no, there is, but let's just play it. Yeah. See what I mean? Yeah. So you've got to build up. So it sounds, yeah. That's the only automation that I've really done. Excuse me. On the track, and that's about it. I don't like automation because, for the simple fact is, it just, you know what I mean, once you automate it, you can't change it on the fader. You can put touch on, but it just makes more automation marks. I don't really like it. I like sticking to the static mix. So right, we've basically talked about all of the track, all the stuff that I've used in the track. Probably a bit too long, actually, looking at the time of the video. So really, what went well was recording the drums. Recording the guitars was brilliant. I mean, it was so simple. That amplifier was just brilliant. Recording the drums, I really enjoyed doing. I thought the drums sounded really good. I thought the way I've mixed them and the way I've EQ'd them, even though they might have a bit too many EQs on, I still think it's really great. What didn't? I'd probably say the melodyning. You know what I mean? My melodyning skills are not mad, not amazing compared to some other people. And listening to the vocals and listening to the track more and more every time, I really do want to go back and change it. But just, you know what I mean? If I keep on changing it, I'll probably make it sound worse. So, you know, so I'm just going to leave it at the moment. If I have enough time, I will change it. So yeah. And yeah, what could be improved? I've pretty much explained that there. So really, I think personally the vocals, maybe some of the, I don't know, maybe recording some of the guitars, getting some of the less feedback, maybe using different microphones, different recording techniques, maybe that, and that's probably what I'd say really. Yeah. Overall, this is my favourite track that I recorded in the portfolio, and I really love it. Yeah. All right, so thank you. I hope you've enjoyed what I've explained for this long time. Yeah. Okay.